and a warm welcome to our special program, India-US Rebooting Ties. US President Barack Obama's visit to India on the occasion of the 66th Republic Day Parade has been significant in more than one ways. This is the first time that a US head of state is given this honor by India and reflects more than anything else the degree of comfort that New Delhi has in its relations with Washington. While there was much focus on what diplomats call deliverables in terms of substantive deals and agreements, the symbolism attached to this visit has had a resounding effect across the globe. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll take you through all the aspects of this visit. To begin with, what has been the larger picture and the big takeaways? A report here.
A giant leap in the Indo-US relationship exactly after a year. In January 2014, US diplomats were expelled from New Delhi amid widespread public outrage over the treatment of the Indian diplomat Devyani Khobragade in New York, marking the worst crisis in relations between the two countries in years. This coming in when India had begun its countdown to the general elections with the BJP's prime ministerial candidate Narendra Modi, then Chief Minister of Gujarat, being looked upon with suspicion by the United States. The table seems to have turned 360 degrees. Now, President Obama becomes the first US president ever to make two visits to the country while in office and the first American ever invited to be the chief guest at India's annual Republic Day celebration. The symbolically important visit follows a productive and cordial couple of months in the often fraught India-US relationship since Modi's election in May. Obama's 2 days in India have harnessed momentum seen like never before. In a glow of bonhomie, US President Barack Obama and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled plans to unlock billions of dollars in nuclear trade and to deepen defense ties, steps they hope will establish an enduring strategic partnership.
I am pleased that 6 years after we signed our bilateral agreement, we are moving towards commercial cooperation.
Today we achieved a breakthrough understanding on two issues that were holding up our ability to advance our civil nuclear cooperation, and we're committed to moving towards full implementation. And this is an important step that shows how we can work together to elevate our relationship.
The two countries reached an understanding over resolving long-standing differences over the liability of suppliers to India in the event of a nuclear accident, and US demands on tracking the whereabouts of material supplied to the country.
In the 21st century. As two great democracies, two innovative economies, two societies dedicated to the empowerment of our people, including millions of Indian Americans, we are natural partners.
Other deals range from an Obama-Modi hotline, India's first at a leadership level, to financing initiatives aimed at helping India use renewable energy to lower carbon intensity. But Modi cautioned that work was still needed to create a solid partnership between the world's two largest democracies.
From the turn of this century, we have begun transforming our relationship. But we have to convert a good start into lasting progress. This requires translating our vision into sustained action and concrete achievements.
Obama's attendance at two key conferences, the CEO Forum and India-US Business Forum, has brought vitality to the business climate of the two countries, with top CEOs from the US and India taking part in it. So far, it's been a substantive visit in terms of deliverables and optics. But will it result in tangible gains in the long term? Is the big question. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
So after the big picture, the finer points of this visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Barack Obama also met the top CEOs of the two countries. Prime Minister Modi promised a speedy redressal of business-related problems while he pitched the need for heavy investment in infrastructure and agriculture in India. Modi also stressed on the need to boost purchasing power and growth in the economy. Here's a report.
Concrete action, not surprising.
In the packed calendar on the US President's India visit, trade and economics was the focus on Monday evening. President Obama told the India-US CEO Forum there was a natural convergence between the two countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on the other hand, assured good governance that will help in promoting ease of doing business.
Good governance हो, proactive good governance हो, और pro-people good governance हो, तो मैं समझता हूं कि बहुत से इश्यूज जो हैं उसको हम एड्रेस कर सकते हैं.
30 business leaders from the US, including Indira Nooyi of PepsiCo, Harold McGraw, Chairman McGraw Hill Financial, and Ajay Banga, CEO of MasterCard, attended the meetings.
हमारे पास टैलेंट है, स्कोप भी है, स्किल डेवलपमेंट पे मेरा भरोसा है, लेकिन सिर्फ स्किल डेवलपमेंट से काम होने वाला नहीं है. जिस स्पर्धा में आज हम हैं और जिनके साथ हमारी सबसे ज्यादा स्पर्धा है, मुझे तीन बातों पर मेरा बल है: स्किल, स्केल एंड स्पीड.
Both Modi and Obama also addressed the India-US Business Summit.
You will find environment that is not only open but also welcoming. We will guide you and work with you in your projects. You will find a climate that encourages investment and rewards enterprise.
We've made it easier for foreign companies to sell and invest in America. India's exports to the United States are also increasing, and that means more jobs and opportunities here in India. In the end, that's the purpose of trade and investment, to deliver a better life for our people.
America is the sixth largest investor in India, which made business a key agenda on Obama's 3-day trip. The US is targeting a 5-fold increase to $500 billion in the two-way trade between the two nations by 2025. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now coming to the high point of this visit, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi and American President Barack Obama thrashed out differences over the proposed administrative arrangement for implementation of the 2008 India-US nuclear deal, it predictably became the most talked about point in the world media coverage. A look at some of the reactions coming in.
The US President's visit and the talks on the civil nuclear agreement set the media abuzz across the globe. The New York Times reported that President Barack Obama and his Indian counterpart broke through a 5-year impasse to pave the way for American companies to build nuclear power plants here, as the two countries sought to transform a fraught geopolitical relationship into a fresh partnership for a new era of cooperation. For the Washington Post, the understanding on the nuclear deal, the understanding, though short on specifics, moves towards resolving one of a number of nuclear-related issues that have hamstrung the countries for years. The USA Today said the deal would allow US firms to invest in energy in India. The White House said the understanding on India's civil nuclear program resolves the US concerns on both tracking and liability. For the Pakistani media, the outcome of the bilateral talks indicated that India would pursue talks with the US about increasing terror threats emanating from Pakistan. The Dawn said in an editorial that, and I quote, Indian officialdom and its relatively nationalist media will likely try and elicit further comments on Pakistan from Mr. Obama and other American officials that can be used by India to portray Pakistan in an even more negative manner, unquote. Global Times China advised that the US, regardless of historical complications, is putting more efforts into soliciting India to act as a partner, even an ally, to support Washington's pivot to Asia strategy, which is mainly devised to counter China's rise. As for India, which has ambitions to be a major power, it needs US investment, technologies and political support so that its Look East foreign policy will better function to counterbalance China's growing influence. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
So after the high points, some heartburns, the renewed bonhomie between India and the US has not gone down well with China. State-run media agency Xinhua said the US president's unprecedented second visit to India is a superficial rapprochement given the hard differences between India and the US on issues like climate change and nuclear energy cooperation. China is likely to keep a close watch on the outcome of the talks. Obama's arrival in New Delhi was widely covered by the state-run CCTV, with questions on how it is going to impact China and whether it was part of US strategy of containment of Beijing's growing influence in the region. Xinhua said, and I quote, "The shortened three-day visit is more symbolic than pragmatic, given the long-standing divisions between the two giants, which may be as huge as the distance between them. 3 days are surely not enough for Obama and Modi to become true friends, given their hard differences on issues like climate change, agricultural disputes and nuclear energy cooperation." Unquote. So let's take a short break at this point in time. We'll come back with plenty more on Obama's India visit. Back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching our special program, India-US Rebooting Ties. Now, one of the biggest takeaways of President Obama's visit was a moment when Prime Minister Narendra Modi referred to the civil nuclear deal as the centerpiece of the transformed relationship between India and the US. While the long-standing and rather thorny issues related to liability and the tracking clause ironed out what's this new deal all about. Let's take a look now.
Barely a decade ago, the BJP was in the lead, pushing through strong liability clauses that stopped US suppliers from operationalizing the Indo-US civil nuclear deal. As Prime Minister, Narendra Modi changed all that.
The civil nuclear agreement was the centerpiece of our transformed relationship, which demonstrated new trust. It also created new economic opportunities and expanded our option for clean energy.
For the US, on the other hand, tracking the nuclear fuel became an article of faith, a demand that India considered intrusive and an insult to sovereignty. But it was President Obama who overrode objections to use his executive privilege to leave matters to IAEA inspections.
We achieved a breakthrough understanding on two issues that were holding up our ability to advance our civil nuclear cooperation, and we're committed to moving towards full implementation. And this is an important step that shows how we can work together to elevate our relationship.
The resolution of the differences on the liability issue and the tracking clause indicate just how much things have moved forward between the nations under the two leaders. In just 4 months, the US abandoned its position on fuel tracking, while India agreed to create an insurance pool solution for US firms who are suspicious of the liability clause.
क्योंकि ये 10 साल हो रहे हैं इसके, और अमेरिका अभी भी दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा राष्ट्र है जहां न्यूक्लियर पावर है, 100 से ज़्यादा रिएक्टर हैं उनके, और निरंतर वहां रिसर्च होती है. तो अमेरिका के साथ न्यूक्लियर क्षेत्र में भारत को जितना करीब से काम करने को मिले उतना अच्छी बात है.
Nowhere more than the nuclear deal have the two leaders demonstrated the way of how to take forward the Indo-US relationship, with a great deal of pragmatism as evidenced by the Indian Prime Minister and the recognition by the United States that India needs to be taken seriously. With expansive spectacles, much publicized gestures, innovative communication, Modi used them all in the run-up to the nuclear deal to show the US that India matters like never before. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Coming to the strategic ties now, India and the United States have vowed to take the defense ties to a new level by revitalizing their 10-year defense framework agreement to agree in principle to pursue joint development and production projects.